Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. As your host, Mel Matt, and joining me tonight, someone making their very first appearance on this podcast, Shaq.
Yes. Thank you for. I I love wrestling, but I'm not really a big wrestling podcast guy. But I always make exceptions, and I wanted to be on this one because one, I love this era. The Ruthless Aggression era is one of my favorite eras of wrestling. So I knew when you asked me to do this, I was like, I'm ready to do this. I wanted to at least talk about some of my favorite matches and favorite feuds of this era, which are just a lot of them, really. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. Is this
No
your
problem.
first podcast appearance, or have
Yeah.
you appeared on?
Oh no, this is my very first podcast that I've ever done.
Awesome. I think you're going to like it. I think you're really going to like this.
Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, so tonight's episode is going to be on the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam 2003. And right now we're actually on the road to SummerSlam 2018. And I did not plan that at all. It just kind of happened.
Like, yeah,
So SummerSlam 2003, it was in Phoenix, Arizona. That was pretty interesting place to have it.
yeah, it was. I'm so used to it being in L.A. or some other or Brooklyn or some other place. When I saw it was in Phoenix, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Sold out too.
Yeah, one thing I do like to talk about on this show, I like to talk about the set design as well as the theme song. That's just something I've always enjoyed. What do you think about the set design for this show?
The set design was actually pretty cool. Reminded me of looked like SmackDown set design, really, from like the little art.
A little
A
bit.
a little bit, not fully, but it was pretty cool. I liked it. It wasn't nothing too extravagant. It was pretty simple, clean and laid out. They've had better ones, I think, for SummerSlam. Like I think SummerSlam '99 was pretty. I like SummerSlam '99 layout or cover a little bit better.
SummerSlam '98 with the fence.
Yeah, the fence. Yep, the fence one too.
Yeah, honestly, this is probably my favorite SummerSlam stage. It's a bit simple, but it really works. I think like the giant SummerSlam logo and the Titantron. I think everything about this set just works for me.
Yeah. Did you think? What did you think about the poster then? I was like, do you have a favorite? Do you have one?
Um,
Do you actually have a favorite poster from the SummerSlams or?
98's really good.
Yeah,
98 is great.
yeah,
The one for this one is certainly interesting,
yeah,
to say the least.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely interesting.
2004 with the Olympic theme.
Hmm.
Yeah, so some has actually has some pretty good posters.
Yeah, they have.
Like the Rock, was on one for like 3 years straight.
Yeah, he had his for 3 years straight. Like, I like the 2002 one with the one behind him behind this behind like all these clouds and this like sunset and all that stuff in the green glasses. I thought that
Yeah,
was a pretty good pop out screen.
yeah, like he was Mustafa from the Lion King.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Rock says one day you will own this bride.
Doesn't matter if it doesn't touch it.
All right, so we can go ahead and talk about the theme song. Unfortunately, the theme song here it was dubbed over on the network, but this is something that I really enjoy. This is a weird song. "Saint Anger" by Metallica was the theme song. What'd you think about this theme song?
Honestly, now honestly, I'm not a big rock. I like Metallica, so it's probably not like my. I the thing was it was a good thing. Like it made like
Mhm.
for the thing, it made sense for that thing to do with all the feuds and stuff they were doing. But it's like it wasn't kind of like my favorite thing, but it didn't feel like it was SummerSlam ish. I guess if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
SummerSlam is more pop and like up. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Like it's just more. I don't know if it's heavy, but just more really more pop in, probably rap, like something like that. Like freaking like
Yeah.
the '05, like the '05 theme with
Oh
by
yeah.
Nelly, like that kind of that kind of makes sense for
Uh-huh.
SummerSlam. Like get it popping, like that makes sense for SummerSlam. But it was still a good
Yeah, like
theme.
that kind of like summer party music.
Yeah, summer party music.
Yeah, like I like this theme because I am a huge Metallica fan.
Hmm.
It's funny because the Saint Anger album is like very controversial.
Hmm.
Like it's often considered to be like their worst album.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, because the whole production of that album is very strange. Like Lars Ulrich's drum snare, it sounds like he's banging on a trash can. There's no guitar solos on it. A lot of the songs are very long. Like it's considered to be their worst album. I like the album. Like I do. I do like the album, and I
Yeah.
think I like the song as well. I think it fits. I think it works.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's cool. I like. Yeah, it's a good thing. Like I said, it's whenever you play Metallica, it's always going to be any Metallica song is going to be a good thing. Always.
yeah, for sure. So we can go ahead and talk about the first match on the card: La Resistance versus the Dudley Boys for the tag team championships.
Oh man, that I was like the crowd was so hot for this match to start off. And then I was looking, I didn't get a chance to look at the Raws leading up to it, but then they did do a brief recap of it. And I forgot how much I hated La Resistance. And then I saw Rene Dupree and I was like, oh my god, I hate that guy. I cannot stand Rene Dupree. But it was a pretty solid match though. I really liked it, especially Douglas not having to use any tables or weapons or anything. It was actually a pretty solid tag match, and it really worked well too. And even like even the ending part, it was a typical ruthless aggression overbooked ending, but I liked it though, with the hitting with the camera guy coming in and hitting Bubba Ray with the camera. I like that at the end. Gave some more heat to La Resistance, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much of a storyline going on here. It's basically USA versus France.
Yeah.
W Boys represent US, La Resistance representing France, but La Resistance takes it to a whole another level. They appointed a bit of a ruse on the W Boys on the Go Home show for Raw because they sort of like La Resistance kind of like picks on someone in a service uniform,
Hmm.
and the guy in the service uniform, W boys come out, fight off La Resistance,
Yeah.
and the man in the service uniform turns on the W boys and remind them La Resistance.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and them doing that spot, it was kind of good to see them continue to bring that guy on. Did that guy end up becoming an active wrestler? I do not remember at all. The service
Yeah,
member.
he
I
was
don't
Rob
remember.
Conway.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, Rob Conway became the third member of La Resistance and went on to have a decent enough solo career afterwards.
Yeah, and I
He
got
had one of the best theme songs in WWE history.
yeah, yes, yes. Also, I always love to get my appearance from Spike Dudley. So at the end of the match, seeing Spike Dudley try, not get totally green, but I'm a Spike Dudley marks. I always love seeing Spike Dudley just get in there and get rough with people, even though he's gonna get destroyed.
Right. Yeah, that was nice to see. Like both teams brawl in the aisleway
Yeah,
to start things off.
yeah. But the energy
And
for that
so
match
the
was
Dudley
great.
boys and so the Dudley boys get their comeback,
Hmm.
and right as they're about to win, a cameraman attacks Devon and helps Raw Resistance wins, and it ends up being Rob Conway.
Yep, that was a great. It was a great spot, really. It's kind of I was kind of shocked by it because I was really after they hit that three, after they hit that 3D, I was totally in on the finish that they were gonna get, that they were gonna win there. Then he came out of absolute nowhere, hit Bubba Ray. Was it Bubba Ray or Devon? I think it was Devon. He hit Devon with the camera. Then he hit Bubba
Yeah,
Ray
I
later.
think so.
Yeah, he hit Devon first. I was like, oh shoot, yeah. I was like, dang, they had me on that 3 count after the 3D. But really, the crowd like into that match, like the first match of the night, it was just so crazy. It was just they were just popping for everything the Dudleys were doing. It was electric, really. And I'm like, this is La Resistance. Like they don't, it's like the fact that they were so into it with La Resistance is really a testament to how good the Dudleys were. They could really make anybody in any spot just really make the match even more great and energized, which is really a testament to them. Why they're the best.
Yeah, it was a great crowd. And it was a pretty good match.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a really good match. Yeah, it was actually that bad.
And Rob Conway ends up being the third member of Raw Resistance. How do you feel about Raw Resistance sort of morphing from a tag team into this more or less a stable, like a trio?
Um, they were okay. Like they were okay. Like they were never really, like I said, the only person I liked from there was Rene Dupree because he did that stupid skip dance and I hated that. I hated that skip dance so much. That was pretty much. They were really just annoying heels at the end of the day. Like but they really didn't do much for me though. That's why. That's why I never could. I could. I hate it. Just when Rene Dupree did that skip, it turned me off so much. Couldn't take it.
Yeah, so after the match, Coach interviews the Dudley Boy and perhaps in a bit of foreshadowing says that Raw Resistance way to win the titles was clever.
Mhm. Mhm. That was part. That was seeing Coach there kind of shocked me too. I forgot he was. I forgot he was there. That was young Coach in the early 2003. Seemed like he had more energy than he does now. But it was pretty. It was the promo by Bubba Ray was totally typical American saying, "Are you anti-American?" and all this other nonsense. Blah blah blah. We're gonna go for the titles. It was effective, but it was also just it was a little bit turned me off. I'm like I don't when Bubba Ray is talking about anti-American and all that stuff. I don't see that in the Dudley Boys. I never seen them as we're American rah rah waving the American flag. I just see them as rough, getting tables, brawling out, and we're Dudley Boys. That's it. So it was kind of weird, but it made sense, but it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
And it's always weird that like I remember I looked SummerSlam 2002 like they had another like I remember they had Lance Stormer and Christian do the un-American thing. It's always
Oh
kind of
yeah,
weird
that's right.
how they always come up with SummerSlam. They always have these anti-American tag teams as champion. It's going into these
Yeah,
SummerSlam.
it's just it's an easy way to get heat.
Yeah, it, always an easy way.
So the next match we can talk about:
Hmm.
A Train versus the Undertaker.
Yes, I know this is going to shock some people, but this was actually my favorite match on the show. Actually, actually, wild enough. Actually, even even with say, oh my goodness, I forgot Saber was with A Train. This was a really one. I'm gonna say this right now. Badass Undertaker will always forever be my favorite Undertaker, no matter what any. I know there's gonna be Taker Minion is gonna probably say something that he loves all the other Takers, but this is my favorite. This is my favorite Taker ever. This is the one I connect with the most. I don't even know why. Maybe because it felt like this was the most him, and it felt like he was the most comfortable. And I
Right.
just loved the way. And I just loved the way he did. I just loved everything from his music to the way he drove in with the motorcycle. Even his ring work changed, and it was just like it was something so different and cool. I just loved it so much, and I was like, I like this guy. Because I really like Undertaker. I never really was on, I with the Undertaker at all. Even during the '90s and Attitude Era, I could never really believe all that mystical and all that magical and dark magic stuff that he did in the '90s. So it was like when he took away that he became badass. I was like, yeah, I like this guy. And then he started talking more. And then he was, then he started having really good promos, and he didn't have Paul Bearer anymore. I was like, yes, I like this. This is a good Undertaker. I could ride with this Undertaker a lot.
Yeah, it's an always kind of connected with as well. Like it was the first version of Undertaker I ever saw, so I do have a soft spot for this particular Undertaker character.
Yeah.
I also think it was a good way for sort of the character to kind of evolve, and even as a way for Undertaker the wrestler himself to kind of evolve. He started cutting more promos. His ring style sort of changed.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, like the gimmick, it is himself, like because like Biker Taker it really is who Undertaker the person is in real life. So it does feel more organic. It feels more real.
Yeah. Yeah. Just every time. I always I get little chills, but every time I hear that the dead man walking, and then that music plays, and he revs up that motorcycle, it's just like Jesus. That guy is the American badass, and when he gets in the ring, you can just feel it. And even
Yeah.
his match with A Train, and the story. Well, I guess you're gonna explain the storyline coming into it.
Yeah. I mean, there's not too much to say here.
Yeah.
Undertaker, like A Train, basically attacked Vengeance, the previous pay per view.
Hmm.
Undertaker did not approve of it. That's really all there is to it.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, like, there's not too much. Sable and A Train have aligned together.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the Stephanie McMahon part angle with it as well, with Sable and Stephanie when she was the GM. So I thought that was an interesting take as well.
Yeah, because Sable and Stephanie had a match at Vengeance with that Sable ended up winning after A Train did his thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes
So
sense.
Undertaker is standing up for Stephanie McMahon, which is kind of weird considering that Taker tried to marry her in a dark wedding just a few years prior.
Yeah, yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, that. Oh my goodness, yes, the kayfabe world of WWE. Some things when they mention when they the worlds collide with each other is always so weird, and it kind of didn't make any sense at all. But it was pretty funny. I was kind of yeah I was kind of weird about that. How Taker Taker was setting Stephanie up to get back at Sable. It was kind of that threw me off a bit as well.
Yeah. Yeah, like this match, it's a decent match. I think. The guys go back and forth. A Train focuses on Undertaker's injured ribs. Undertaker first injured those ribs. At Vengeance against John Cena, and Undertaker's been having problems with it ever since. And the A Train has even screwed Taker out of a couple of wins, including a match against John Cena, and then another match against John Cena himself, I believe. It
Okay.
was a tag match with Undertaker and Orlando Jordan against John Cena A Train.
Wow. Lando Jordan. Lando Jordan. I haven't heard that name in a while. Yeah, for me, I'm maybe I'm still a little bit. I like when big guys fight. What I liked about the match, it was very crisp, and like their exchanges, it was like it was a brawl, and then it wasn't a brawl, and then it was like, but it was also quick, and then they were doing the power moves they were doing. It was like it was really great transitions, and even like the ref bump spots were really good, and Sable didn't really interfere that much in the match, which was really good. Like she really didn't get involved at all, so it was really just those two just hammering at each other, and it was really solid. I really loved that. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why. I remember just sitting there watching. I was like, man, this is really good. And the crowd was into it. Like the crowd was probably like quiet for like the first couple minutes, but then once it picked up the last 5 minutes, the crowd really got involved in it. And then at the end with when 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 triple not triple A, excuse me, when Undertaker was holding on to Sable, and then Stephanie came out to that pop, it was pretty good.
Yeah, so the finish of the match comes when Undertaker hits a choke slam on A Train for the win, and then Sable tries to seduce Undertaker, but Stephanie McMahon comes down and attacks Sable as Undertaker holds Sable.
Yeah. What did you think of the commentary on the show?
I think it's fine. It's glad to see JR and King because JR, and we can talk about it later, but JR, recently returned to the broadcast booth after being set on fire by Kane,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's not. And so it's nice to hear JR and King together again. Cole and Taz, I've never really been all that crazy about as a team, but they did fine here.
Really? Oh wow. Yeah, I actually always enjoyed the Taz and Cole team. They always seemed like they had a really good chemistry together. Even though Taz would be Taz and he'll say a bunch of stuff sometimes. Taz sometimes I think Cole. I mean, this is a younger Cole, so I can see I actually like Cole now than I do actually back then. But I like the Cole and Taz were really good in certain spots, like for certain things, and they probably
Mhm.
like couldn't call like everything, which is why they didn't get the main event and all that stuff. But I think when they know the story and it's short and compact and they don't have to expand that much, they're pretty good together. From what I remember when I watched them.
Yeah, and sometimes Taz would just up and sing on commentary.
Yeah, 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 he would. But like, as I know, we're gonna go skip it well, when we go to this match earlier. But like, their call during the Fatal Four Way was pretty good. I actually like
Yeah.
all that stuff in the Fatal Four Way.
Yeah, so A Train Undertaker, decent enough match, I thought. So the next match up, this is going to be an interesting one to talk about because there's a lot of stuff that goes on down in this match. Shane McMahon versus Eric Bischoff.
This feud was so interesting. This like this was like the first time I was literally confused. Like when they did the replay, I was so confused to a lot of what was actually going on. So please explain to me like the missing pieces here, because I was really confused as to why Shane was going after Eric Bischoff after he was going after Kane the whole time.
All right, so Kane ends up tombstoning Linda McMahon
Hmm.
on the steel stage on the July 21st, 2003 episode of Raw, my birthday.
Oh, okay.
So that was an interesting Raw birthday. And so Leonard McMahon gets tombstoned by Kane on the steel stage. The next week, Shane McMahon returns for the first time since around February or so. Like this is the first like this is really more or less the return of Shane as an active television character because
Yeah.
Shane's made a couple of appearances every now and then at Raw 10th anniversary and on Arena Raw where they sort of teased Shane succeeding Eric Bischoff as GM if Eric Bischoff didn't sign Stone Cold for No Way Out. So there's a couple appearances here and there, but this is really the first time that Shane's been an active character since really the Invasion era.
Okay. Yeah. That I was I was seeing that. Yeah, I was kind of seeing that. Wasn't this also the time where didn't Kane electrocute Shane in this feud? Like did that happen during this or after?
I believe it was after
Oh, okay. Okay.
because after they started building to their match at Unforgiven, the last man standing match.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's a spoiler.
Yeah,
Shane's
like,
gonna
the
be
two
facing
feuds really do just kind of intersect.
Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, that's why I was trying to figure as I figure out as we get later on why he faced RVD because I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm thinking he's going to face Shane, but I see the RVD aspect too as well. And but the the match itself the match itself was oh my goodness, it was a match.
Yeah, so Shane McMahon returns for the first time since earlier in the year and since the invasion era. Ends up taking out Kane, sort of chair slams him off the stage, and then the week after that, Shane McMahon says, "What I started with Kane, I'm going to finish." And Eric Bischoff comes down to the ring and says that per orders of Vince McMahon, he wants you out of this arena. And Shane is like, "I don't give a damn what my dad says, and I don't give a damn what you say, Eric Bischoff." And so they end up having a match later that night on Raw. Kane helps Eric Bischoff win, and Eric Bischoff gloats and gloats about the win. And then Stone Cold books Eric Bischoff in a match against Kane. It's sort of like this is really just a settle out of court situation because
Hmm.
Jim Ross comes back after being set on fire by Kane and threatens to sue Eric Bischoff because he set him up. And so Stone Cold, as a compromise, puts Eric Bischoff in a match with Kane, and Kane ends up winning via countout. And as it turns out, the winner of that particular match goes on to face Shane McMahon at SummerSlam. And
Yeah,
so it's going to be Eric Bischoff versus Shane McMahon at SummerSlam.
yeah, yeah, and that was pretty. That was a pretty interesting way to get there. Like I said before, it was just so confusing. It seemed like there was a lot of moving parts that were happening, and I was just trying to catch up. And then the Linda Eric Love angle aspect of it just kind of threw me off. But I was like, oh yeah, this I forgot what I'm watching. This is '03. This is the Death Ruthless Aggression era. So it's kind of just out there. And then yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like on the go home show for Raw, Eric Bischoff shows up at Linda McMahon's house um, and says that he's going to hurt Shane very badly because Shane bought WCW, the company that Eric helped build. And I thought that was a really interesting wrinkle.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, oh, they added some continuity to that. I actually that was something you didn't think about if you were back then. So I was like, oh, so it's a revenge angle too for Eric Bischoff to try to beat him, I guess, which is pretty good because Shane. I'm guessing like the Cole look, Eric Bischoff was a Cole GM, and I'm guessing Linda was the other GM, or was Shane the
Stone Cold was the co-GM at this time.
okay?
Window was the CEO as well.
Okay, I thought Stone Cold was the Okay, Stone Cold wasn't the I thought he was the enforcer for some reason. So it was okay. So it was Eric Bischoff. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense actually. Why he want revenge?
And so Eric Bischoff ends up kissing Linda McMahon.
Hmm.
And
Yes,
Eric Bischoff gloats about it before the match.
yes. We go about it with Christian. As
Oh
Christian,
yeah, that's another backstage segment I forgot about.
yeah, Christian was lobbying to try to get a match on SummerSlam as the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
There wasn't that many matches on the show. I'm surprised they couldn't fit Christian in somewhere in that show for his peeps.
No man, we gotta put Triple H over, man.
Yeah, yeah, give him all the time.
And so Eric Bischoff sort of gloats about what happened with Linda. Shane McMahon comes out and immediately goes to work on Eric Bischoff outside of the ring.
Yes,
Some
and
good stuff here.
yes, his strikes are still bad, but they're a little bit better than what they are today.
Yeah.
They're like semi bad. Because the strikes today they're bad, but back then they were semi bad. They looked somewhat believable since he was working a little bit more back then than he does now. So it was better, better but still
Yeah.
bad.
So as Eric Bischoff is being worked over by Shane McMahon, we
Hmm.
get a chair shot to the back of Shane McMahon, and it's Jonathan Coachman. Coach turns heel. What you think about this?
Yes, this is the best coach. This is Hill Coachman is the best one because he that's that's the one thing I wish he would do today is go a little bit heelish. He does he does a really good job of annoying people, and because his voice is annoying, in my opinion, really annoying, especially when he's talking and trying to say big words. So when he turned heel, I was like, oh shoot, I was shocked. I literally forgot. Like, oh yeah, this is the start of his heel turn. Him aligning with with Coach. But after, like, even like when he turned heel, and then they put him back in the ring, and then Eric Bischoff cut off the mics, and then and then
Yeah.
and then Coach is doing imitations of Jim Ross. I was dying. That was actually that actual segment of the match was probably my favorite part. And then once Stone Cold comes out, that's pretty much when I kind of get into the match. But I was really out of it until after that heel turn. Once he hit it with chair shot, I was like, okay, this is getting interesting now. And then once I realized, like, this is, I didn't realize it was just a regular singles match either. I was like, oh, a regular singles match. Shane McMahon and Eric Bischoff. This is not gonna go well. Something has to happen. So when Eric Bischoff made a no DQ and false count anyway, I was like, cool. We're gonna get Shane's gonna throw his body somewhere. We're just gonna pop the crowd.
So Coach ends up turning heel, and I agree with you. Heel Coach is best Coach.
Yeah,
Like Coach as like Eric Bischoff's lackey, and
yeah.
then as Vince McMahon's like executive assistant. I love this Coach. I think this is
Me
best
too.
Coach.
Me too. Me too. It's one where I see him like he's playing a character that he likes, and he's not being serious. And like that's kind of my thing with him now that he takes the commentator role a little bit too seriously, more like sports anchor instead of being wrestling commentator, where you kind of like have to
Mhm.
be super exuberant and be like Corey Graves or just be crazy. Or just that's what I kind of liked about Booker T when he was commentator. You just say crazy stuff. But Coachman,
Yeah,
like
like
just say crazy stuff. It's wrestling. Like I just give me some crazy stuff. But when Coach was telling me like for this hour, the word of the hour is like this is not Sesame Street. I'm not looking for a word of the hour. Just give me the just talk wrestling. Just it's not that serious. It's not that serious. Just be have fun with it. And that's what I liked about Hill. Hill Coachman was having fun with it, and I even when he interacted with everybody else would have fun with him too. And I kind of like the Rock and Coach Hill the backstage interviews were like always some of my favorite stuff. The way they treated Coach.
yeah, like Coach was so much better during this time. He wasn't talking about how a bear hug was a chance for Ronda Rousey to catch her breath.
Oh my god! No, he was not doing that. He was. Oh goodness.
So Coach nails Shane McMahon with a chair, and the referee goes to disqualify Eric Bischoff, but Eric Bischoff instantaneously makes it a false count anywhere match, and so he and Coach basically double team Shane, and Eric Bischoff actually cuts off King and JR's mics, saying that Coach is the greatest announcer in wrestling history, and Coach just does like a lot of like JR isms,
Yeah,
like what a shot, what a shot. That's a slobber knocker.
I popped so hard when he did that. I don't even know why. Man, I just like when anybody imitates JR. Probably because I do it so much to myself when I'm not paying, when I'm alone just watching it. As a slobber
Same here.
knocker. So when he did that, I was like, okay, you got me now. That's funny. That's good stuff.
Again, again, you're stopping him like a government mule. Eric Bischoff, Eric Bischoff, Eric Bischoff.
That is so good. And Eric Bischoff is doing a good job here. I don't, I always Eric Bischoff during this time was like I hated him so much, but it was so good hate. Like I loved Eric Bischoff
Right.
during this era so much.
Same here.
He played this role so well. It was so great. I already said his theme is A1 is one of my favorite things. But him as a character was so good. Was so good. And him and Austin really played well with each other during this time too. I always loved their interactions too. It was great.
Yeah, they had so much chemistry as co-general managers.
Yeah.
So speaking of Stone Cold comes down to the ring to save the day, and Coach with probably one of the best lines of the night. Hey, listen, I don't work for you. I work for Eric Bischoff. It's just a case of mind over matter. I don't mind, but Stone Cold, you don't matter.
that was that was such a good line. But even before that, when the shattered glass hits, and then you see Coachman and Bischoff's face, you just when they
that,
pan
that
to
was
their face,
great.
I was like, "Oh yes, they know what time it is." Because because I was actually caught off guard by the. I was caught off guard by Stone Cold. Like, oh shoot, yeah, it's time to get some stunners going. So, but then when he said that, when he said that matter, he said you don't matter line. I was like, oh man, that was good. That was such a good line. He's like, and then he kept on antagonizing him. He kept putting his finger around his face and like, I can't, you can't, unless I antagonize you, you can't hit me. You can't do anything. And then when Shane pushed him, it was all over.
Yeah, that's something that we need to talk about because that actually is a bit of an interesting wrinkle in Stone Cold's character. Because for the first couple of months of Stone Cold's run as GM, he would basically just kind of beat some people up every now and then.
Yeah.
And Linda McMahon comes down and says, like, you can't just put your hands on anybody. And so she makes a rule that Stone Cold can't touch anybody unless he's physically provoked.
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, I was kind of. That was actually a pretty good. It was kind of a pretty good rule. When they said that, I was like, oh, okay, that probably happened in the previous Raws, which was a pretty good wrinkle to it. And but, and even at the end of it, when he did it to when he did it to Bischoff too, freaking Shane had Eric Bischoff slap Stone Cold when he's like can't even move, and then even Austin has that sly smile on his face, is like, oh, I can't wait to stun this fool. Great.
Yeah, so Coach gets shoved into Stone Cold. Stone Cold beats him up. Eric Bischoff slaps, like air quotes slaps, like Shane McMahon uses Eric Bischoff's hand to slap Stone Cold. Stone Cold stuns Eric Bischoff, and the finish of the match comes when Shane McMahon launches Eric Bischoff through a table, like an elbow through the table. 1, 2, 3. Shane McMahon wins.
Yes, it was a typical Shane McMahon way to finish a match. I was hoping it was going to happen that way, but and even when he did it, I was trying to figure out how the heck Eric Bischoff got cut open so badly. Like it was,
Yeah, same here.
I was like, wait a minute. I was literally trying to look at the replays, like how did he get busted open from that? Like I know he didn't blade himself.
Hey, maybe those punches do connect after all.
Probably. Laying it in, stiff with it.
Stick and move.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a great match. Like very, very overbooked, but
Yeah.
I can forgive it because both guys, they're not like wrestlers or anything like that. So you sort of have to know that it's going to be overbooked. But this was such a fun match. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, there was so much going on that when it really started picking up, you was like, oh my, you couldn't just you couldn't keep your eyes off of it because you just wanted to see what was going to happen next.
Yep. So the next match, Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit versus Rhino versus Tajiri for the WWE United States Championship.
Yes, this was a pretty good match too. I like this match a lot as well. But it's not surprising. Those four. Eddie, Chris, Rhino, and Tajiri are really good. So when those four,
oh yeah, totally.
You put those four in the ring, and you're gonna get magic no matter what. And me being an Eddie Guerrero fan lover, I always love seeing any chance I get to see him. I always love it.
Yeah, Eddie Guerrero, the first WWE United States champion, won the title at Vengeance with help from Rhino. So Rhino is now a heel. He's sort of feuding with Chris Benoit. And I do love how Rhino's first real act as a heel is that he forced Chris Benoit to face Doink the Clown on SmackDown.
That's I really did. I know I may have to go look that up because that sounds something I would want to see.
Yeah, like it's honestly kind of funny.
By the way, I'm looking, and when I looked at Rhino the first time, I'm thinking to myself, this Rhino is so much smaller than the Rhino that's on TV today.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's crazy. I'm like, did the old Rhino eat this new Rhino or something? Because this guy, that new Rhino was super thin. He was super thin and lean, and even his arms were like more compact and longer and better or something.
Yeah, Rhino is a lot more thick now, I guess you could say.
Yeah, he's a lot more thick.
Yeah, I'm a huge Rhino fan. I've always liked Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish he got more of a push in WWE than he actually did.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like no matter what Rhino does, he always gets a reaction. It's the craziest thing ever with him. Like he is, even though he's the most underutilized, even when he gets on TV, like they scream gore, they'll scream ECW, and then Rhino will get that look on his face, and then he'll start going, and then it just works. And I love that about Rhino, man. He is so good. He is so good, even with the limited opportunities he gets. Is always he always makes the most out of it, which is you can see that with the crowd. Like they eat everything up he does, which is good.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opponents, a lot of things going around, sort of intersecting storylines here. Tajiri was turned on by Eddie Guerrero. He was smashed through a windshield. Tajiri recently came back, and Chris Benoit's also at Eddie's throat as well. Rhino's at Chris Benoit's throat. So there's a reason for all four guys to be in the ring here.
Yeah.
It's not just a fatal four-way just for the sake of having all the guys on the card. There's a reason for everyone being here in this match.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. We don't usually see that. We usually get some thrown away matches sometimes currently, but when it was kind of good that everybody had a reason to be in the match, and even that I know in that clip they showed the last SmackDown where Eddie hit all of them, hit all of them with the title belt. And I kind of like that they end up bringing that story into the current match where he was walking in and all three guys wanted to go after him anyway. I kind of thought that was an interesting wrinkle as well.
Yeah, so Eddie stays outside, but soon makes his way into the ring, and everybody goes back and forth. There's one spot where Eddie and Benoit lock in the lasso from El Paso and Cripper crossface simultaneously.
Yeah.
And Eddie's just like, should I break it up? Should I just keep on going? I thought that was a really interesting thing that they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that sequence too. It was really good. I was thinking one of them. Tajiri looked like he kept looking close that he was going to tap. I like that though. That was a really good spot in the match.
Yeah, I think everyone gives a good chance to shine here in this match.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do think that this probably could have used a couple more minutes, but overall, I thought this was a pretty fun match.
Yeah. 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 I could. Yeah. If you gave it probably like even another 2 good minutes, but even like the final sequence of the match, it was really good. Like that final sequence, I really enjoyed that final sequence when I think it was Tajiri. I forgot who threw somebody out the ring, but I know Eddie hit the frog splash on Rhino on his back, and I love that whole finish.
Yeah, Rhino on his stomach. Eddie Guerrero hits a frog splash on Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero hits a frog splash on Rhino. Rhino's stomach first, or like on his stomach. That was a really interesting spot. 1, 2, 3. Eddie retains the United States title.
Viva la raza,
baby. So a really good match.
Yeah.
So next up, Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship.
Man, I totally forgot how freaking ruthless Brock was back in the ruthless aggression era. Like I want to now when I saw the when I saw the promo for it, the video package for it, I was like, man, I forgot when he did all that stuff to that one-legged dude. He did all that craziness, and then he lined with Vince in this match field during the feud. I was like, oh my goodness, this is. I kind of like this Brock, and then of course this is more with Brock talking with no Paul Heyman. So I know it's another wrinkle that a lot of people don't usually see unless you go back and look back. This Brock was so menacing. He was literally an animal. He was literally an animal.
Yeah, this build for this W title match a lot better than Vengeance. Even though the match at Vengeance was really good, there wasn't much in the way of a story. Here there's a big story going on here. Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle have since become friends since WrestleMania. And Kurt Angle wins the title on Brock Lesnar. Kurt Angle actually pins Brock Lesnar to win the title at Vengeance in that triple threat match. And that pretty much sets Brock Lesnar off. A couple weeks after that, Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon face off in a steel cage with Kurt Angle as a special guest referee. As it turns out, Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon were in on it all along, and Brock Lesnar turns heel.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty. It wasn't really shocking when you look at it, but it was like when he when he did it, it was just like, yep, this is he's gonna be on a rampage. I'm trying to figure, is that the end where him and where he's making that crazy looking face with him and Vince, or when at if they're standing? I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's that picture, but I'm trying to remember it. But at the end of that SmackDown, he Vince is holding Brock Lesnar's hand up, raising his hand up, and then Brock is making that crazy look in his wild eyes or something.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy.
And so after Brock Lesnar turns heel, which it was very much needed because Brock Lesnar just did not work as a face. Like he just
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. He can talk like he was really good talking back then, but he was more of a like a douche the way he did it. He was more like, I'm Brock Lesnar,
Right.
I'm a jockey, I'm a jock guy. So it's like I'm just gonna like he's way better. Like I'm gonna tease you and like stuff like that. So like him and I remember them showing the backstage videos of him and Kurt like doing competitions. Like I could see how that would work. It I could see like Brock being like the young up and comer guy, just like I'm better than you. I'm better than you, Kurt. Like no matter what. Like I'm the beast. I'm the freak athlete. You're old has been.
Yeah, so Brock Lesnar just goes on a freaking tear
Yeah.
throughout some of the lower card guys. Like he assaults Brian Kendrick one week. The
Yeah.
next week he brutalizes Zach Gowen
Yeah.
in his own hometown in front of his own family.
Family. Yes. Oh my good. I'm trying to remember how old I was, but I remember when he did all of that, and I can really picture me at like 15 watching that. I'm like, this dude is a maniac. He is a freaking maniac. He is the chair shots, the F5s the F5s to the pole. His mom watched the mother watching. I was like, I could not believe I was watching that on my television screen. I was like, this dude's crazy. And then when he pushed him off the freaking the stretcher, and then he took the blood and he wiped the blood on his chest, on his pelvic chest. I was like, this guy is crazy. what is what is going on? I'm just telling you, just imagine me in like that age. I'm thinking like this dude is legitimately crazy. Like there's no way Kurt's gonna survive that.
Yeah.
I couldn't even
So
imagine.
now it is.
I couldn't imagine him doing something like that today. That would be so much. I just couldn't even picture it.
Yeah, so now it's up to Kurt Angle to stop this Brock Lesnar menace.
Yep. Well, here comes the pain, as Taz would say.
Soup bones, Cole. Soup bones.
How'd you feel about the match?
so,
How'd you feel about the match? 'Cause
um,
I actually felt for me like it kind of dragged a little bit, just a little bit. Not that it was like it was. I kind of get why it dragged, but like I say like this, it was 20 minutes, so like the first 10 were pretty slow, but then the last 10 were really good.
yeah, like I'll be honest. I think this is way better than a WrestleMania match. I was way more invested in this one. I don't know, like because for me the WrestleMania match, I just thought it was very slow.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just because Kurt Angle was working hurt at that point in time.
Yeah, that's probably it too. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and that's probably why, like especially that last 10 minutes, like those transitions into the ankle lock, like that he couldn't, he wasn't doing like he did a bear hug from his back from like holding while Brock Lesnar was standing up, and I'm like he wasn't doing none of that during WrestleMania because how badly he was hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, he was really in great shape because the stuff they were doing in the match was really like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like that match was really slow, and really the WrestleMania match had just a couple spots in it, but really,
Hmm.
but this match was a lot better. I agree. Like this match was a lot better than that, but just probably just for me, like the first 10 minutes were really too slow, but then like the last 10 minutes it really picked up. I really liked
Yeah.
all. I really liked all the spots.
Yeah, I thought this was a great match. I think this was really good. It's a lot faster. It's more intense.
Yeah,
I thought this was great.
yeah, yeah. What did you think about Vince coming out in his Hawaiian shirt?
That is an underrated Vince look.
That is actually, I agree. I agree. That's actually one. That's my low key favorite Vince look is him in the Hawaiian shirt, in the light tan slacks. I
Yeah. I mean,
know it.
Vince was being casual here on his birthday.
Yeah. Oh, wait. It was his birthday. So
Yeah,
celebrating his birthday.
I believe this SummerSlam took place on his birthday,
Huh.
which makes the post match angle just so much better.
Yeah.
And even Cole says "Happy Birthday, Mr. McMahon."
Oh, I gotta go replay that because I was not paying attention to that. It was not a good happy birthday for him.
Yeah, so the two go back and forth as they attempt to out wrestle one another. They brawl in the aisleway, and at ringside, where Brock gets the advantage, Mr. McMahon comes down to the ring. Brock hits an F5 for a near fall.
Yeah, that near fall got me. I thought Brock was winning that.
And so Angle ends up getting in the ankle lock, and I love this ending. I love this finish. Like Brock Lesnar, like goes to like three sides of the ring. Kurt Angle always pulls him back.
Yeah,
Like it's just great.
yeah. And
And
seeing Vince plead on the outside, just pleading for
yeah,
Brock not to tap out, just pleading for him not to tap out. It was really good. That was good stuff. That was so good.
yep. And so Brock Lesnar ends up tapping out, and I believe that's the first official time that Brock ever tapped out in WWE.
Wow, wow, that's crazy.
And
That
so
that is
after,
cool. I'm sorry.
oh,
That's a cool
oh,
stat.
that's fine.
Sorry, that just threw me off.
Yeah. And so after the match, Mr. McMahon goes to interfere, goes to hit Kurt Angle with a chair. Kurt Angle reverses and hits an angle slam onto Vince McMahon onto the chair
See, this is what makes Vince McMahon so dang crazy. Only Vince McMahon on his birthday will go and take an angle slam on a steel chair
while wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
while wearing a Hawaiian shirt and slacks. It's like that what makes him so crazy. That's what I kind of that's kind of what I like about him, but that is what makes him so crazy because I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
That was a hard angle slam that he took too on that steel chair.
So the next match, Kane versus Rob Van Dam in a no holds barred match.
Yes, one of a kind. I miss Randy.
Oh, same here, man. Same here.
I really wish I kind of really wish he would do more indie scenes around in my neck of the woods so I can go watch them just to see what he still could do. But this Kane, this storyline, as you were talking about earlier with the Shane McMahon and Eric Bischoff, how they all intertwined. I was trying to figure out how, but I'm guessing Kane and RVD were they teammates?
Yeah, they were tag team that, and they were even tag team champions for a while.
Yeah, okay. I thought probably knew that. Yeah. Oh yeah, they were because at the Royal Rumble there was a Royal Rumble where they were tag champs.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe they became tag champs the night after WrestleMania 19 and held them until Bad Blood, where Raw Resistance won them.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this was the start of when Kane was showing his face, right? Like I thought
Yeah, like
this
this
was
is yeah, this is a big moment, not just in WWE history, but in Kane's history,
yeah.
because Kane has finally unmasked. Um, and Shaq, how do you feel about Kane when he unmasked in 2003? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Somewhere in
I
the
liked
middle?
it. No, I liked it. I liked it. You always need to evolve as a character, and I think that was something that needed to happen. We need to see what he looked like. Like we always had they always had these myths of what he potentially looked like. He had a deformed face, as Jim Ross had from the fire. That's what he always said. He had a deformed face, and when they showed it, and he had the black markings all over his face, and he had his half cut hair. I was like, oh my god, he's uglier than what we thought. But it was good. But I think it was needed. it was something to add to the and this new and it was kind of a shift into this new. It was this more sadistic, deeper character, which I liked anyway. And I could also like Kane's theme. This is Kane's best theme, also by the way, that I love.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mixed on the character. On one hand,
Hmm.
um, he was booked a lot better here.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it did freshen him up a bit because he was growing a bit stale.
yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know about taking the mask off of him.
Okay, okay. I can see that. I can see
Yeah.
that. I can see that. I always thought like eventually you're gonna have to see. I get why you saying that though. That
Mhm.
you thought it kind of like ruined the mystique of it, or just.
A little bit.
Hmm.
Especially when he's been built up for years and years as having like this deformed face, and he takes it off, and he's just fine.
Versus one,
He
yeah,
just looks like a normal guy.
yeah, and they just had the black the black dirt on his face, whatever that was that was on his face. I guess that makes sense.
I
Yeah,
mean, when he unmasked, he looked like Larry Fine from the Three Stooges. If you were like
yeah,
a chimney
yeah,
sweep.
yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah, he did. He did actually. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. But like, but after like his character was actually, it was really good.
Yeah,
After it's probably his best run.
yeah. Like, and Kane he has done so many horrible things since he unmasked. He choked some Eric Bischoff off a stage. He tombstoned Linda McMahon on the stage as well. He beat up Tommy Dreamer, Rico, and Stone Cold. He threatened to quit. He threatened to set RVD on fire. He set JR on fire. It's he tombstoned Shane McMahon on a steel step. So Kane has just been on a tear lately.
Didn't Linda put him on house arrest? Like, wasn't he arrested?
Yeah, he was on house arrest. And he would always show up to Raw in shackles. And I actually have that Kane action figure. I actually do have a Kane action figure where it's him wearing like the tights that he would wear for the rest of his unmasked run, and then the black towel that he would always wear, and like the handcuffs and the shackles. I do have that action
They actually
figure.
made an action figure of that. Wow,
Yeah,
I need to, I need to go look that up. I want to see what that looked like.
yeah, it's really cool.
That's cool.
And so there's not really much of a reason for this match to be happening because they
Yeah,
already sort of had their blow off match, but I guess it's just a way. I guess it's just something to keep Kane busy until the Shane feud, I guess.
yeah. So I'm guessing after when, yeah. So I'm guessing Kane after this match goes infused with Shane.
Yeah, because they do have like two major pay per view matches. They have a Last Man Standing match at Unforgiven the following month, and then they have an ambulance match at Survivor Series later on in the year.
Okay. Okay.
And so this match ends up getting an instantaneous, no holds barred stipulation.
Yes, by Howard Finkel. I believe that's it. Howard Finkel.
Yeah, it just reminded me of like WrestleMania 17, where they just added a no disqualification stipulation to Stone Cold and Rock.
Yeah. which, which they kind of had to do because, like I said, the spots they ended up doing in the Kane match, they kind of needed the no holds barred
Yeah.
restriction.
And there will be no disqualifications. I mean, what this match was missing was Kane ripping away like the ring post and using it as a weapon against RVD,
Mm-hmm.
like in the No Holds Barred movie.
Yeah, yeah. To me, it really needed him come. I really wanted him to come out, and when he came, I thought he was still on house arrest. So when he came out, just walking in his regular, just walking out, I was like, oh, so I guess he's out of house arrest. I really wanted to come
Yeah,
out in the freaking with the handcuffs and
yeah,
the 6'8" police officers escorting him to the ring.
yeah. He's the modern day Goldberg.
Yeah, yeah.
So Kane, Kane is mainly in control of the match for the most part. He ends up hitting RVD with a ladder. RVD even reverses the ladder, ricochets it back into Kane's face. And RVD makes a comeback and hits a Van Daminator on Kane, but misses a Van Terminator. And Kane ends up tombstoning RVD on the steel steps, much like he did Shane McMahon for the win.
Yeah, yeah. The match. I know it was the lead up to the main event, so it felt like the match was really just there for me when I was just watching it. Even though with the spots they were doing, they did a good job with what they had to do. But it was still a good match. Like it wasn't a bad match. Like it was really Kane always really has good chemistry with smaller guys. So
Yeah.
it was solid.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid match as well. They were put in a really, really bad spot because they were following Brock and Kurt.
Yeah,
But I think they did the best with what they were given.
yeah, and the crowd was still into them. So probably until like the finish because they probably were not sure about the finish when he still stepped them. But it was good though.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match.
Yeah, probably my favorite part was Jim Ross in the match because he clearly was so he wanted RVD to win so badly.
Yeah. So now it is time for the main event. It's Goldberg versus Triple H versus Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels versus Kevin Nash versus Randy Orton in an Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes, yes. This was really good. This was really good.
Yeah, so this was originally going to be Goldberg and Triple H one on one,
Mm,
but Triple H ended up tearing his groin, and so they pretty much had to make this match to kind of protect Triple H.
okay, yeah, I can see that. That's why he did the least amount.
Yeah, and did you notice Triple H's new attire here?
Yeah, which I'm I hope I hope that was a one and done. I don't remember him wearing that much because I hated that attire.
Yeah,
That was
he
so
wore
weird.
it for the next few months.
Oh god, that was just a weird attire. Like I don't even know what it was. Like it wasn't full trunks. It was like half. It was like 3/4 trunks.
Yeah, I think it was like biking shorts, and then he put his
Yeah,
trunks over them.
yeah,
It's so weird.
it was so weird. It was so weird. He should have just wore the full trunk. Like that's still Triple H. Like I can see that because he wore trunks when he's with DX. It's not like he hasn't worn long trunks before. He wore with DX and when he was his first character. So that was just weird that he cut it like weirdly short.
Yeah, I, mean, I guess it was a way to just kind of protect his groin
Groin.
since
Yeah,
it was
that
torn.
which makes sense now.
So yeah, everybody's been at each other's throats here in this particular match. Randy Orton pretty much there just kind of to make sure that Triple H walks out with the title.
Yeah.
Jericho and Shawn Michaels have also been feuding a bit, and he and Nash have also been feuding as well. In fact, Kevin Nash actually lost a hair for his hair match on the Go Home show, and
Oh, okay.
so Kevin
Yeah, I
Nash
was.
because there.
Yeah, I was wondering that because I know they talked about it. I said Jericho was feuding with Kevin Nash, but and was Shawn Michaels was he just added on there? Like he wasn't really feuding with anybody. He was just
He was
main event.
kind of feuding with Jericho,
Okay.
because they ended up having a WrestleMania rematch
Yeah.
the night that Leonard McMahon got tombstoned, and Jericho ended up winning via interference from Randy Orton, and Randy Orton's going to end up feuding with Shawn Michaels after this.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And do you know the reason why Kevin Nash had to cut his hair?
Oh, okay. That okay. That now makes sense.
Do you remember the reason why he had to cut his hair?
Didn't he lost him? No, actually, I don't. In the video package, he lost to Chris Jericho.
Yeah, in real life, Kevin Nash ended up being in the Punisher live action movie as the Russian, so he had to cut
Oh,
his hair short for that role.
oh, okay. Oh, shoot. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Oh, okay. I did not know that. So he had a movie role, and then that's what made him cut his
Yeah.
hair. Okay. That's just like what Cody Rhodes had to do recently. Okay.
So there's a lot of intersecting feuds here.
Yeah, yeah. There's a ton. There's a ton.
So Sean and Jericho start the match off, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, this Sean and Chris have great chemistry, so putting them out first was pretty good. Pretty much what I liked about this match, pretty much everybody played their role perfectly. Still, like even though Triple H was hampered, he was still that's to me. You know, Triple H had a lot of great matches. Like that was perfect Triple H. The way
Yeah.
how he won and how everything was played out, like it was perfect. And Chris Jericho and Sean, even like they hated each other, then they started teaming up, like they were perfect. Kevin Nash was being the big monster, which was great. Randy Orton was a little bit weird. Like he was in and out, but he was good. But Goldberg was the star of the match. Like the stuff he was doing was just it was great.
Yeah, Randy Orton is the third guy in the match. It just ends up launching into the match, like off the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
Nash is the next guy in the match, immediately goes after Jericho, lawn darts him into the chamber wall. And so Nash ends up getting eliminated first.
Yeah. On that he
Sweet,
got super kicked into a roll up, I believe. So basically
yeah,
a roll
Sweet
up.
Chin Music and a roll up, I believe, by Jericho.
Yeah.
And Nash attacks everybody after the match. He attacks Shawn Michaels and Jericho.
Yeah, he was just power bombing everybody.
And so next up is supposed to be Triple H, but he immediately gets Sweet Chin Music.
Which I love so much. I just love it when I just love the Sean Triple H interactions with each other always just put a smile on my face. I just love their stuff so much when they work together. So when he super kicked out, I was just like, yep, that's how it should be.
Yeah, I mean it's a way to kind of protect Triple H so he doesn't have to
Yeah,
do too much in this
yeah,
match, but it was still so entertaining.
yeah, it was.
So the last man in is Goldberg, and he just goes on a tear.
I mean,
He eliminates Orton, he eliminates Michaels, he even eliminates Jericho, and he ends up spearing him into a chamber pod.
I mean that if you want to show somebody like who Goldberg is, like all the packages of Goldberg, you just show him that. You just show that person that clip. Like this is Goldberg. Like that was all Goldberg. Like that's who Goldberg is. Like he spears, jackhammers, spears, intensity, jackhammer, spear, intensity, jackhammer, pinning everybody. That was all Goldberg, and I loved all of that, all of it.
Yeah, that was a great sequence of events, followed by one of the weirdest calls by JR. Goldberg's going through these men like salt through a widowed woman. What? What was
What?
that?
When he said that, I heard, I was like, okay, I don't know what that means at all. So I'm just guessing it's one of Jared's Oklahoma slang because I had no clue what he was
Yeah,
talking about there. Just no clue.
yeah. I think that's what it is. Something Oklahoma related,
Yeah, yeah,
like being taken to the woodshed.
yeah. It's slobber knocker. Like I get those. or beat you like a government mule. Like I get those, but that one that threw me off so much. But I was still into it though.
Yeah, so the final two guys in is what this match probably should have been all along: Triple H and Goldberg. And Triple H does not come out of the pod, and Ric Flair just up and leans on the barricade and like tries to lock Triple H into his pod.
Yes. Oh my goodness, the best. I love Evolution, but my favorite thing of Evolution is always Ric Flair and when he how he helps Triple H because it's so funny. It's so funny how
Yeah,
animated he gets. It's so great. When he throws his jacket off. It's the funniest thing ever. I just love when Ric Flair throws his jacket off and starts doing his strut. Starts losing it. It's the best thing.
yeah. And so Triple H flips the bird, the Goldberg, Goldberg flips the bird to Triple H and
Yep.
breaks into his pod. Yeah,
Yep.
did you notice that there were a lot of middle fingers on this show?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the ruthless aggression there, so it
It's
makes
kind of a
sense.
weird thing, but
Yeah.
it's just something I noticed.
Yeah. There was a lot. I was no. I didn't really. I didn't. Now that you said, I didn't really pick it up, but it was a lot.
Yeah, I think Kurt Angle does it at one point. Stone Cold, of course, does it. Goldberg do it. I think Flair at one point does it.
Does it?
So Goldberg breaks into Triple H's pod, just throws him into the chamber wall over and over and over again. And then Goldberg goes for the spear. Flair slides into the sledgehammer. Triple H nails Goldberg with a sledgehammer. 1, 2, 3. Triple H retains. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. It was, it was typical. Like I said, it was the typical Triple H specialty match. You always got to have a sledgehammer in there. I like the spot too, by the way. I just kind of
Yeah.
wish they would. I kind of wish he would have just ended with the pedigree after that. Like he sledgehammers it, he
Mm-hmm.
pedigrees him, then he does it. Because like the way Goldberg was going, it doesn't seem like even though he launched his head, like I don't think a sledgehammer still should have just that should have been the end of him. Like he could have did a pedigree, then
Right.
1, 2, 3, and then ended it like that. I thought that would have probably worked out better, but because it seemed like it shocked the crowd. I mean, it did shock the crowd. Like they was like, oh, it's over. It was like it was over just like that. It was so instant.
Yeah. And I think everybody sort of figured that Goldberg was going to win the title because his time
Yeah,
seemed right.
yeah, it did. Well, yeah, yeah, it
And,
always does.
and, and, and this is Goldberg's first loss on NWE.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't his first singles loss, but it was his first just loss in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a backstage story about why Goldberg lost, and I have no idea if it's true, but this is something that I've just always heard. Apparently, the reason is that Goldberg was asked to fill in for an Australian tour because of Triple H's groin injury, and Goldberg reportedly refused to do it, and so that's why he lost. That's a rumor I've always heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just a rumor that I've always heard.
That that I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Goldberg was. I mean, this. How many appearances has he made at this point? Because I know he like this is him. Like this is him fresh off coming off of like he was off the hiatus or he was still under. He was on his break, but still getting paid by WCW, right?
He
Like
was
how?
in WWE for about 4 months at this point because he had
Okay.
debuted at
That's
Backlash.
correct. Yeah. So he had his match with The Rock at Backlash. So he only yeah. So knowing Goldberg, it could be true. It could be true, but you never know with that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
and so after the match, Evolution handcuffs Goldberg to the chamber wall and just beats the crap out of him.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of a weird way to end a pay per view.
Yeah.
They just like they just stuck him to the chamber wall and they just beat the shit. Beat oh my bad, excuse me, beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, it ends with a heel standing tall, a pay per view with the heel standing tall, or as I like to call it, a 2018 WWE pay per view. So yeah, I mean the main event I thought was a really good match. I don't know if it was quite as good as the first Elimination Chamber match, but it did feel like they sort of worked out the kinks of the match a little bit,
Yeah,
and so I thought this was a really entertaining match. Not a fan of the finish, but other than that, I thought it was a really good match.
yeah, yeah. Same here. Like I said before, I think everybody played their role right. Like everybody did what they were really supposed to do, hit their high points, and I think that's really what made the match work. And then when Goldberg came in, like I said, I think Goldberg doing what Goldberg does just made the match look even way better, which is kind of what it needed, especially with Triple H's limitations.
Yeah. So that just about does it for SummerSlam 2003. What'd you think about this pay per view, Shaq?
Man, it was a really good pay per view. I could not when I watched, I just couldn't believe how really good this pay per view was. But it probably, like I said, it didn't have the Intercontinental Champion on the show. It didn't have a women's match on the show, but it was a really good pay per view. It was really good pay per view and a good crowd. The crowd was hot throughout the whole night. Really.
Yeah, I agree. The crowd was great here. This was a really good pay per view. I'm trying to think if I enjoyed this more than Vengeance because Vengeance 03 was a really good show. I don't know. It's a tough call,
Hmm.
but I did really like this show. I think all of the main events, all the world title both world title matches, I think were really delivered.
Yep.
Some of the mid card matches were really good. Bischoff Shane was very entertaining.
Hmm.
This was just a really good show. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really good.
So, any final thoughts on this pay per view before we end this?
Nope. I think I'm really. I think I'm good. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm good.
All right, so I think that just about does it for this episode. Where can they find you at, Shaq?
You can go and find me at on Twitter at Shaquill Stewart 19. I'll be on there all the time. I'm always on Twitter.
And you can find me on Twitter as well at melmat15. And you can also find me on Cage Side Seats. I usually hang out in the daily and the nightly. And in the nightly, I am currently doing a SummerSlam Summerfest series, doing a review of every single SummerSlam ever. Tonight is going to be SummerSlam 2011. So definitely check that out. We are near the end of the SummerSlam countdown. Considering the recent SummerSlams I've had to watch, it will definitely be for the better. It will definitely be for the better.
Yes, yes, yes.
But yeah, I hang out in the daily and the nightly as well. I also hang out in the SmackDown threads as well as the NXT threads. So that's where you can find me at. And next week's episode, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. It's going to be another brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. And we are not going to be looking at pay-per-view next week because it's going to be a double episode, a special double episode, because Mox will be returned to the show, and we will be talking about both the WrestleMania 19 video game for GameCube as well as Lita's book, Lita, A Less Traveled ROAD, The Reality of Amy Dumas. That's going to be a really fun episode. I'm very much looking forward to that episode next week. So you can tune in next week for that episode. So anything else you want to add, Shaq, before we leave?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I hope I was good for your standards because I do enjoy listening to your show a lot.
Thanks, man.
Like I said before, I don't do a lot of wrestling podcasts because there's a lot of them. I don't listen to many. The ones I do listen to are the ones that are very unique. So I'm gonna give a shout out right now to Mox. I do like Mox and AA's podcast as well, and I like the Ruthless Aggression podcast because it does bring back a time that I do enjoy watching and I do love talking about, which is the Ruthless Aggression era. But other than that, I am good, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of great podcasts out there. You got Shooting the Breeze with Tigris Minion and Mr. Dr. Sinju every Saturday morning at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. And next week, they're actually going to be doing a special breakfast at SummerSlam edition of the show. So they're going to be going 1 hour early, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central next week. And then there's also Violent Wrestling Podcast. They recently had a new time, at least a new day anyway, now on every Wednesday. I don't know if they have a specific time, but it is every Wednesday now. And there's also Two Guys, One Sport with Chris and George. That's every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. As well as Connoisseurs of Wrestling with Taker's Minion, Biff Kensington, and the Legends Lover. That's every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And you can also catch Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling. He's doing a lot of content nowadays, a lot of solo shows. So definitely check that out as well. So thanks very much to Shaq for being on this episode. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully. wherever you want to have me. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like MVP. I'm gonna be in negotiations.
So yeah, I think that's all for this episode. Next week, WrestleMania 19 video game and Lita's book. So that'll be a very fun episode. So I think that just about does it for this episode. I will see you all next time. See ya.